Part 4. Light and Darkness. The Illusions of God. Conversation with Lucifer. When reading channeled texts, remember no external information is 100% reliable. Listen, first and foremost, to yourself. All the information is already within each of us. Tell me how the division into light and dark occurred. If everyone is simply a spark of God, why is there polarization and opposition? The ocean is a very fitting analogy. You are a drop of the ocean, and as a drop you undergo changes. The drop evaporates and rises into the sky. There, it becomes part of a cloud, a snowflake, or crystallizes back into a drop. But first, it becomes part of a cloud. The cloud is also part of the ocean. Yet, the cloud is in the sky, and it contains many drops of the ocean. Some of these drops, now part of the cloud, which is part of the ocean, turn into snowflakes or fall back as rain. Some snowflakes are carried far from the ocean by the wind. There, merging into streams, they still strive to return to the ocean, but their path is now long and winding. They will become clouds and fall as precipitation many more times, but sooner or later they will return to their source, the ocean. And they will discover that the ocean is not just the sum of its drops, but something more complex. You can travel not only to the heavens as clouds, but also within the ocean as currents. When they travel as drops, they feel freer. Or so it seems. But this path is more difficult. The drop must constantly find its way back to the ocean. It's much easier to travel with the ocean's currents. Rising as vapor, a drop can become a snowflake. As a snowflake, it becomes more rigidly fixed in relation to its environment. Indeed, you see the beautiful patterns of snowflakes. They are beautiful but cold and seem different from the drop, though they are essentially the same. And you say they are different, not like you. I think I understand your allegory. But what then is darkness? And what is light? Light is the essence of God, what he is made of. Yes, co-stands. You do not see the movement of essence. I am God, and he is unknowable. Why? Because a part of God can only know him by ceasing to be a part. But by ceasing to be a part, it stops the process of knowing, for there is nothing to know. When it is God, it does not seek knowledge, as it already possesses all the knowledge and qualities of God. But as soon as it separates as a part, it strives to recognize itself as a part and understand its difference from God. But to understand its difference, it must first understand God himself. It's a bit of a vicious circle. A circle. All of you try to comprehend God by going beyond your limits. By going beyond, you encounter other parts of God and realize that they too are not God himself, but parts of God. Other parts of God. Then you either try to unite with these parts or fight them, trying to prove that they are the wrong parts of God. And only a few of you come to the realization that to comprehend God, you do not need to go outside yourself, you can comprehend God within, since we are all parts of him. Yes, but if we are sparks of God, how can I comprehend God within myself if I am a reflection of his reflection, and as a reflection of reflections, I distort his essence? You can reflect back. Reflect back? What does that mean? Remember the sunbeam. You catch the sunlight with a mirror and reflect it onto a wall. Reflect it back at the sun. Can you imagine the power of reflected light? The most powerful lasers are built on the principle of reflected light. If you pass light through a magnifying lens, you can ignite what is nearby. Right now, you are like glass that lets light pass through, scattering it. But you can become a magnifying lens and ignite or burn something around you. Or you can become a mirror and reflect a new world from within yourself. Do you understand? Are you saying that everything happening in the world of humans and the world of higher entities is just different ways of perceiving light? That some simply scatter it, others use it to harm, some reflect it and build illusory worlds, and so on? I'm saying that you are stronger than God, but you don't realize it. What can light do? It can simply be shine, reflect, and refract. But each prism can amplify or scatter this light and reflect it in its own way. So it turns out that you control the light, not the light or darkness controlling you, as you commonly believe. The term control is perceived more as manipulation and carries a negative connotation. Exactly. What's negative about refracting light? Are the colours of the rainbow good or bad? Which are dark and which are light? But how did the division happen? Some moved away from God by reflecting and condensing, while others strive to return by refining and following the ray. You often use this term. The ray of creation is a single ray, the direction of God's energy. The division happened in your minds. So above us, in other dimensions, there is no division into light and dark. Let's talk about illusions. What is an illusion? Something that doesn't exist in reality. And what is reality? What actually exists? You see, you're confused. Is what you perceive reality or illusion? What is an illusion? It's a variant of reflection. When you look in a mirror, you're sure that you are real, and the mirror is an illusion. But the mirror also reflects what's around you. So, is what's around you, reflected in the mirror with you, an illusion? And what is reality? You see and feel the world around you's that reality. When you dream, is what you see in the dream reality or illusion? Don't rush to answer. There's much to reconsider. Look, once people believed the earth was flat and rested on 3 whales. You won't believe it, but that's how it was. So reality is what I believe? How does reality differ from illusion? An illusion is a phantom, a hologram, a projection. A projection of what? If it's a hologram, what is it based on? A phantom of what or whom? Are you saying there's no single reality as such? Correct. If you place a barrier, say a plate with slits shaped like trees, in the path of light, you'll see projections of trees. A magic lantern. What if the plate has slits shaped like many other objects? And if this plate is multidimensional, you get the hologram you speak of. But who creates these plates? You do. It's your collective creation. Consciously or unconsciously, you join the patterns of collective creation. Then, one of you, the bravest, claimed that the earth is actually round. And after some time, the multidimensional plate of perception restructures. If telescopes existed when you believed the earth was flat and rested on 3 whales, you would have seen that flat earth and those whales. So, everything we see, touch, hear and perceive is just what we believe and know. And that's reality? There's no such thing as what you call reality. Everything is a reflection and refraction of divine light, myriad pictures from magic lanterns, and all of it is illusion. And by comparing reality to illusion, you're simply comparing different illusions. But which illusion is more illusory? And what is the measure of illusoriness? The degree of distance from the original light, the degree of reflection. Yes, but you see, it's not linear. And remember, reflection depends on the quality of the refracting lens. Suppose light is reflected and distorted 1,000,000 times. Naturally, each reflection adds its own degree of distortion. But then, this reflected light hits a very powerful and pure lens. And despite the light arriving in a highly distorted form, the purity of this lens allows it to isolate these distortions, restore the light's original qualities, and amplify it many times over. That's the power of the reflector. You're about to speak of Jesus, of him and many others. And then this purified and amplified light begins to reflect off other perceivers and travel through the universe. And though it was originally just the light of God, it is now a modified light of God. This is what is called creation. So, everything is an illusion, and there's no reality as such. It's a matter of terminology, because everything you reflect is real. But for you, at this moment, what's more real is what you believe and thus reflect more steadily. But all of it is illusions, either your reflections of divine light or your collective reflections of divine light. And in truth, only the divine light itself is real. Let's look at it another way. How do you perceive the world around you? Through certain organs. Sight, you see with your eyes. Light refracted by external objects enters your lenses and reflects onto your inner visual screens. It's all the same. But there are creatures in your world that have no eyes or cannot see. How do they perceive the world? The same can be said for all other senses and perceptions. So the picture of reality perceived by you and, say, a wormit's different, as you understand. And what, then, is reality? Moreover, there are beings that see and hear in ranges inaccessible to you. So, which picture of the world is real? Do you see? But if everything is an illusion, and everything is a reflection, and any reflection is an illusion, then I am an illusion, and you are an illusion? Exactly. But whose? It turns out God's illusion, ultimately yes. But among God's illusions are your illusions and the illusions of humanity. And the illusions of archangels, ascended teachers, and your illusion. Exactly. Then you understand that the division into light and dark is simply a classifier of illusions. A classifier of the degree of distance from the original divine light. But who created this classifier? Surely not just humans. You read in scientific works that the earth is round and believe it. But is it really round? What is it then? This question has no answerer, rather. It has millions of answers. It's what you imagine it to be. After all, you haven't seen it with your own eyes from space, but someone has. And why did that someone, who first saw it through a telescope, see it as round? Because according to scientific theories, its rotation and centrifugal force made it round. But what is centrifugal force? Which of your scientists can answer that? Or what is gravity? What if you didn't know such forces existed? And no one did. What would the Earth be like? Do you see? But the Earth rotates on its axis and around the Sunday, right? How do you know that? You were told. And you believed it, just like billions of others, and accordingly you adjusted your mechanisms of perception to it. But in truth, there's only the wandering of reflected divine light, a dance of energies to which you assign certain forms and rules of interaction. Now replace the word perception with creation. Your perception is creation, the refraction of divine light. All your scientific research is merely a reflection of truth, And your instruments, which record what confirms these discoveries, merely reflect the thought, what if? And if you create the world around you unconsciously, you simply exist. And light passing through you refracts according to your degree of distortion. But if you create consciously, you focus and direct these reflections. Does this mean that everything conveyed through channels about the structure of the world, the universe, the history of our planet, and the transition is just someone's vision or reflection? And that, say, Archangel Michael and Sanat Kumara distort and convey untrue pictures and information? What is truth? The degree of proximity to God. How do you determine the degree of proximity to God? Who determines it? Who determines it? The reflections themselves cannot, as they, too, are somewhat distant from the original God. But remember, I spoke of a very powerful prism capable of purifying distortions introduced by other reflecting objects. Such lenses themselves become creators and gods. Do you see? If the reflecting lens is weak in its characteristics, it reflects not all the light, but the strongest. All the terms we use are, of course, conditional, but try to understand. So, there's the original source of divine light, which you call the absolute, or the source. It gives the impulse of creation, directing outward the ray of creation. This ray begins to reflect multiple times off more condensed parts of divine light, and everything further created under the influence of this ray of creation is its many reflections and reflections of reflections. But among the reflecting objects, there are reflector lenses of such quality that they can purify the distortions of the original impulse and amplify it. And then, in the system of interactions of many reflections, appear those you call gods, archangels, and teachers. Their reflected light is stronger than ordinary reflections, and is thus perceived by more objects, which reflect it in turn. This is how worlds of perception are created.